Welcome to Regulate This, a really unfiltered podcast. I'm your host, Leila Shaver, and I've got my co-host here, Tracie Bear. And whether you're a seasoned professional or just starting out, this podcast is here to inform you and empower you in your compliance journey. So, speaking of my co-host, Tracie, what are we talking about today?
Today, we're going to knock it out of the park. This is what everybody needs to do. I don't care if you own an RIA, if you own a dog walking business, if you own a law firm, whatever floats your boat. Today is special for everyone. We're going to talk about how to have your business work through you and not to you, meaning the results that you want. How do we get them? Instead of just letting stuff happen and then saying either we accept it or we've got to fix it, let's have everything work through us and get to where we actually want to be and be able to live the life that we want. So many people think that their business is there for them to work for the business and the business is there to provide them a job, when really the business is there to change your life. And instead of having you pulling the business along, the business should be working for you on your behalf. So today is going to be invaluable for people. We're going to talk to them about the things that people love to hate, planning. But without it, you end up not actually getting the things that you want in life, not achieving the things that you could, or spending a heck of a lot more time spinning your wheels trying to get there. And the frustration is one that you carry with you to your clients, you carry it with you with your family, you carry it in conversations with your colleagues and employees and those around you. So instead of allowing it to happen to you, let's talk about ways to have business happen through you.
I love that. And we hear all the time from prospects and clients about how they've gone to companies for this extra support, whether it's outsourcing compliance, legal, operations, or anything else in your business you may be looking to outsource. And one of the common complaints we hear is about how service providers are reactive rather than proactive. You know, they're having to bring the problem to their provider instead of the provider seeking out areas of concern or deficient areas and working on fixing them before something goes sideways. So what we're talking about today is, part of that culture of proactivity, part of getting ahead and preventing things from happening or being well prepared when they do. All of that is part of planning. And so many firms that we talk to don't have any sort of formal business plan. They really don't have any sort of meeting where they've sat down and said, what do we want to accomplish this year? What do we want to accomplish last year? In fact, Tracie will tell you guys, we often ask, new prospective clients, what are your goals for the next 12 to 36 months? And I think out of every 10 times I ask that, maybe one person will actually tell me they have a plan. And I mean like a solid plan, not a goal and a dream that's like, hey, I hope we grow by 30%. Like they actually have a methodology, they've got a hypothesis, they've got steps they're taking, there's an actual plan to accomplish it. Not just, some hot words that are like, we're gonna grow 30%. Well, how? Well, we're still figuring that piece out. That's not planning, y'all. That's just a dream.
Yeah, if you don't plan, you plan to fail.
Yeah.
Because think of it this way, hate to bring up this touchy subject that I think everybody has experienced at some point in their life, whether it's trying to lose or trying to gain, depending on which side of the coin you're on. But wait, if you were going to say, hey, I'm going to transform my body, I'm going to start eating differently, I'm going to start exercising differently, and I'm going to try to transform into something other than what I am right now. Whether that means you want to increase your tone and you want to get thinner, whether it's, hey, I'm actually underweight and I need to gain, but in a positive, healthy way, whatever it is, if you just throw that out to the universe and just keep living life, and wait 6 months and look back and reflect, some people might gain, some people might lose, and it might be the opposite of the way that they want it. If there are no actual steps involved, right? Like if they're not changing anything, if they aren't doing anything, if they aren't actively looking at the activities that they're doing and the actions that they're taking and ensuring that they align with the thing that they're trying to achieve. If I say I want to lose 20 pounds and I want to lose it by this date because I'm going to go on a cruise or I have something special that's coming up, and instead of doing those things, I don't filter everything I'm doing through that lens, and I say, I'm just going to take every day for what it is. And I show up every day and I'm like, you know what, today I'm having it kind of rough, and when I have it rough, I love sweets. So I'm just going to eat as many sweets as I can because today is a rough day. And tomorrow I'm going to see some friends I haven't seen for a while, and we always love to watch, a certain show, and we have beer and pizza. And the next day and I'm not thinking about that goal at all. When I get to 6 months, I bet the scale's going to tell me something, but maybe not what I want to hear, right? Because I haven't been living my life through the funnel or the vision of here's where I'm trying to go. Whereas if I have this plan and I still know I have to live my life and do these things, I might be changing what I'm going to do. I might find different coping techniques. I might find out that, heck, actually, instead of eating all the sweets that are temporarily tantalizing and great until I feel terrible about it, instead, I know that if I go out and have a walk, it actually gives me more serotonin and dopamine, and I actually feel better, and it's actually helping me get to my goal. When I meet that friend, instead of saying, hey, let's have a huge amount of pizza or beer, maybe I'm gonna instead still enjoy it, but I'm gonna order a Michelob Ultra that's 1 calorie, and I'm gonna get cauliflower crust pizza, right? But if I'm not planning, I'm not putting myself in a position to be successful. I'm putting myself in a position to accept whatever comes. And that's not a way to get what you want in life. So this is a prime time to talk about it, because business planning usually, it's not something that's one and done. It's ongoing, it's evolving, it's something that even after you're done with the initial plan, you're tweaking and fixing throughout the whole cycle of the plan. But really, by the time you hit September, you have to focus on what are the things that I want in my life? What are the things this year? What are things in 3 years? What are things in 5 years that I'm trying to achieve? What do I want to happen for me personally? Now, I'm going to take you, Leila. Let's say that, we've talked about this before on this podcast. You have children, you're married. I'm sure that they like to spend time with you and you like to spend time with them. But if you want to do that and be away from your own business, you have to plan it out. You can't just say, hey, I'm out, and then expect everything to go on, right? Especially if you have things on your calendar, if people are relying on you, all of those things. So instead, you have to say, hey, personally, I want to be out of the office on at least 2 vacations, let's say, this year, and I want them to each be for 2 weeks, and when I'm gone, I want to only have emergency access. So if something falls apart at my business, people can reach out to me, but other than that, I don't want to be in every meeting during those 2 weeks. I don't want to be Johnny on the spot during those 2 weeks. I want to have an actual time away. Well, that has to be planned out. Who would cover for you? When are those vacations likely to happen? All of those things have to be planned, but it starts with, what is it that you truly want? Maybe something else personally. Oh, we've always wanted to have a second home, and we'd like to buy that within the next 5 years. Well, again, you're going to plan, what does the business need to produce in order to give the ROI that allows you as the owner to be able to have that to facilitate the second home, if that was what you wanted. Same thing professionally. What is it? Do you enjoy doing what you do now? Or is it that there are other things that you'd like to expand your horizons on? Maybe it's you want to go speak at conferences. Maybe it's you want to write a book. Maybe it's you want to do a podcast. But all of those things take time and attention. Some of them take a lot of research too. If you're going to want to do those, how frequently do you want to do them? When do they have to be done? How will you know that you've been successful? All of those things are things you have to think through. It's not pie in the sky like the weight loss thing I said, where I could say, I'd like to lose weight. That isn't a true goal. Okay, well, if you lose a half a pound, you're successful. Is that the home run you've been looking for? Nobody would say yes, right? Nobody would even notice. So also, if I don't have a date by when that is it I want to lose weight in the next, portion of my lifetime? Or is there a certain thing I'm trying to achieve? Same thing. So professionally, what is it that you want to do? Do you want to expand your business? Do you want to go into a new market? Do you want to have more clients? Do you want to make more relationships or deepen those relationships with the clients you currently have to get additional business or get additional referrals? Are there things within your business that you wish were more robust or training was better? What are the things in your business that would actually boost your effectiveness, your efficiency, and add value for you? Figure those things out. And then financially, that's a big one, because most of the stuff we want to do personally and most of the stuff we want to do professionally has a financial impact. So is it something that the business is affording you? And if so, what does that need to look like? How much money do you want to make? How much do you want to be able to take out of the business? Do you want to be able to reinvest in the business? What does that look like? So in September, the first things you're going to want to do are develop what are the personal things I'm going to do? What are the professional things I'm going to do? What are the financial things that I want to do? And for this year, for this business plan, and then even down the road, because some things you build in today can help you in 3 years, can help you in 5 years, or it can somewhat cripple you and prevent you from achieving exactly what you want. So this first step is to get that planned out. Now, Leila, I know you've done business planning for many years. Now, this isn't a plan that you're taking to the bank for financing where it's, fancy and it's, extra special and somebody's going to rubber stamp it. It's more of the plan to just go off of to make sure your business is where you want it to be internally and with your team. How have you found that the business planning has impacted your business either positively or negatively?
So I think people say, or there is a saying, you overestimate what you can do in a year, but you underestimate what you can do in 10. So I think for business planning, I would a lot of times overestimate what I could do. But part of the business plan too is, especially when you've never owned a business before, you're just starting out or you're just kind of figuring things out in your business, some of it's just a hypothesis that you test. And that's where, just because you have a business plan that you developed in the fall last year doesn't mean that you don't revisit that plan quarterly or semi-annually and pivot and tweak, right? So it really gives you an idea of what you could accomplish. But yeah, I think for the plan, as a law firm, we keep track of all of our time, and we're really good about data retention. So we're able to go back and look at how much time are we spending on certain types of clients. We're able to look at how much time we're spending on testing versus document creation versus correspondence, right? Just answering emails and really breaking down what that looks like on a per client basis. Based on that, we can look at how much time we're spending on a particular client and then look at our staffing needs so that we can be more proactive when we need to hire. So for every X number of clients we bring on, we're gonna need this much staff to service them, and what those positions are that we'll need based on the time we're spending on similarly situated clients. It's also an opportunity to be like, hey, what do we wanna try to implement that's new? So I know we've had this conversation a lot with our marketing team where, for the last 10 years, I've been busy having children. Right? When I started my business, my oldest son was 4 months old. And that was almost 10 years ago. Since then, I had another son and a daughter. And my youngest now, my daughter is almost 2.5. So, what I was able to do in terms of travel, going to conference was much more limited with small infants at home. But now I'm in a different part of my life where my kids are old enough I can leave home for longer periods of time. So part of what we're discussing for next year is doing more in-person events, more, community connections, right? Connecting with the local community here in Atlanta, hosting maybe a happy hour for some of the firms locally so we can start building relationships in person, not just over Teams. And those are things that we're doing new. And part of that business plan is identifying, well, how often could we realistically do this? What are the steps we need to take to set up those events, right? So whether it's getting securing a location, finding out how much their catering is, do we want to do beverages only? Do we want to do food and beverage? Do we want to have a speaker? Do we want to talk about something? Is this more informal? Like planning all of that out and then setting goalposts on all the things that we need to complete in order to have this event on time. It's the same thing with, for example, this year we were building out our new software. We thought, bless our souls, we thought it would take us 3-4 months maybe to get the tech that we wanted. We are 8 months in. So our business plan was this tech will be done in 3 to 4 months. We're 8 months in and we have the foundational part of the tech built out. We still have a long ways to go. So I think that's where a business plan doesn't always go to plan, but at least you're setting a goal. At least you're setting steps that you're taking. You're taking action and then pivoting as necessary. So we've had to pivot as a result of the software. There are things we want to do in Q1 that we've pushed out now to Q3. But because we're constantly monitoring what's happening, we're able to kind of stay ahead. So in that way, having a business plan has been good and bad because we've made certain assumptions or hypotheses about what would happen and we've had to pivot. It also means that we've had to roll back some things, which has sucked, but it's also a learning lesson. If I ever decide to build software again, I know for damn sure it ain't gonna take 3 to 4 months next time. You know what I mean? Like, I understand some of the issues you run into, some of the triaging and testing you have to go through. So it's still a learning lesson, but I also think I have come further than I ever imagined I would have because I got creative and dreamed big and start putting pen to paper about what is it I think I can accomplish and what are the things I need to do to get there.
Yeah, I think you make a really great point. When I think of a business plan, I almost think, and this is going to date me, folks, of the Rand McNally, the Atlas. Back in the day, and I still enjoy a good road trip. Now, of course, I take the plane and do all of those things as needed, and when necessary, especially due to time factors, but I love a good road trip. My husband and I will jump in the car. We want to get from point A to point B. We figure out all of the cool stops we're going to have along the way. Now, if we didn't plan and we didn't look at a map and I said, hey, let's start in New York and let's get down to San Diego and let's just jump in the car and drive. Let's not turn on our GPS. Let's just figure it out. Well, we'd be in a world of hurt. Instead of it taking us, X amount of days, it could take weeks or months. Or when we ran into something like all of us do where there's a detour and we have to determine which way do we go now? What do we do? If you know what you're trying to achieve, and like in this instance, I'm talking about a road trip and I know that there are stops I want to hit, that's going to change the way I'm going to navigate. If I don't have a plan and I'm just trying to get there, well, then I can throw spaghetti at the wall and see how it works. I'm going to spend more money and more time probably to get to where I want to be, but I could have that happen. I'm just probably not going to get the results I want, right? Not within the time frame, not within the financial resources that I might have set aside. So the business plan is really exactly what you're talking about. It's this path for you to say, are we on path or are we off path? If we're off path, do we need to get back on path or do we need to adjust the path and the plan? And you're right. Once you figured out those goals that you have, the personal goals, your professional goals, and your financial goals, what are the things you want to do? What are the things you don't want to do? Maybe as a business owner, it's I don't want to be advising anymore. I want to take a marketing role, or I want to be an overseer, but I don't actually want client interaction, or maybe it's the opposite. All of those things need to be planned out to ensure that you're still giving a great level of service. So that's where, once you've developed those goals and you've developed them so that they're specific, you make sure they're measurable, you make sure that they're attainable, you make sure that they're relevant to the actual outcome you're trying to achieve, and that they're time bound. Because if there's not a deadline, you could wait 6 months or a year, right, and it'll never happen. Or when it does, you realize all of the resources that were wasted to get there instead of just going straight from A to B. So once you've got those things planned, now it's, well, how in the hell do we achieve it? And that's where the hypothesis comes in. That's where you're looking at, okay, well, what is the average client value that we have? How much are we bringing in fee income on average for our clients? And then we're going to say, okay, well, if we need to achieve this revenue in order to give me what I want personally, professionally, and financially, for the business to be able to run, for it to have excess so that I can live the lifestyle I want to live and have the things I want, be able to provide to my employees the way that I want to provide to them, be able to offer the services to the clients that I want to be able to offer. What does that number look like, and how many clients do I need to achieve that? And if you start thinking in that type of way about how many clients do I need to achieve that, it makes things a lot different for you. Instead of thinking, oh, this is an insurmountable problem, or this is something that's going to a hurdle too hard to achieve, you start thinking, oh, I need to bring in 2 more clients. It's a much easier hill to climb than to think of sometimes even in dollar amounts. Something mentally that our mind accepts a little bit better. But now you can reverse engineer everything in a hypothesis. How many do I need on average client value in order to achieve that? Okay, great. Now we go to, how do I get those clients? Because I know how many I need, but this isn't the field of dreams. If I open the door and put an open sign on it, people aren't just going to flood in saying, oh, great, you're open. Now I want to bring you my money. This is awesome. If it was that easy, everybody would do it. So now you have to talk about, how do we get those clients? And this is where the hypotheses that you have really make a difference, because now you have to have something you test against. And this is where I see a lot of people run into difficulty because they don't track. So they don't know if their marketing channels are working. They don't even know what their complete spend is on their marketing channel. They don't know if they're getting 10 times ROI from their marketing channels. They don't know where their clients are coming from. They don't know which things are working and which things aren't working. So they could be throwing good money over bad on things that don't work and not investing into the things that really give them clients quickly. Now, obviously, referral clients are the easiest, because somebody that knows you, likes you, and trusts you has sent over clients that know, like, and trust them, and they're willing to give you a chance. You don't have to earn as much because your reputation is something that somebody else has given a glowing standard to already. Everyone else, you have to do a little something for them to feel like you're the right fit for them. So it's really saying, what marketing channels are we going to use? What do we think we're going to get from those marketing channels? When do we think we're going to see those results? And then testing against them. Okay, if we said that local service ads on Google are going to bring in this many new leads. Okay, well, how many leads do you need based on your sales practices to close a client? Is it 5 people you talk to get 1 client? Is it 3 people? Is it client for client that you just knock it out of the park and everybody you talk to ends up doing business with you? Which, if that's you, please give me a call. But if that's not you, how many clients do you usually need to speak to through that channel, through that marketing channel, in order to close the deal? So that you can figure out, how many clients do we need to talk to get this many closed types of arrangements, these relationships intact, in order to get the amount of money that we want to bring in. And then you develop which channels you're going to have, how many salespeople you need, or how many client services people you need to be able to talk to those clients and bring them in. and then, be able to test against it to say, is it happening, or do we need to pivot and do something different? So once you've figured out the sales and the marketing, how you figured out your goals, what you need, you figured out how many clients you need in order to achieve that, you figured out how many leads you need in order to close that many clients, and now you need to figure out which channels we're going to get each of those leads from in order to get those closed deals. But now that you've closed them, who in the hell's going to service them? Right? So what do we need to do to properly service them? If we added this type of head count for clients, what type of head count do we need to add for employees to ensure that we have it? Do we have enough people now? Do we need to transition anybody? Do we have everybody in the right seats, or do we need to add head count? And so then it's determining, what does our employee base look like? What needs to change? Or in some of those goals that we have, if things are getting stripped away from me and adding to somebody else, who is that person? Or do we need to add them from the outside? Once we figure that out, now we need to figure out, do we have the ability to have those people? Do we have the space for them? Do we have the technology that they need? Do we need to add to that? Do we have enough equipment? Do we have computers? Do we have all of those things? Do we have policies in place to make this work, or do we need to add things? Maybe we're adding new types of service offerings that we need to develop policies around. Maybe we're tracking differently because we haven't tracked before. What are those things? Maybe we're starting to do glide paths, so that way after we've spoken to somebody, we're able to make sure that when they're in the system, they're getting taken care of and they have touch points. Maybe when they leave the system, do they have touch points? Maybe before they're in the system, there are touch points. All of those things can be planned out. Do we need to increase anything, our service model? Are we going into new markets? All things to consider. And then, you're going to have to figure out your finances. So now that we're bringing in all of this revenue, what additional overhead is there? If we need these new head counts of people in order to facilitate all of this, is that the correct amount of money we need to bring in, or do we need to up it because now we have more expenses? Are there expenses we need to do away with? Are there things we need to shift? Those are all things to consider, and you need to develop your budget. And so those numbers are continuing to get massaged and tweaked over time. And then the last thing you want to consider is, what does that mean for you? Now, I know it seems kind of silly to some people because you've already developed that you need to focus on your goals. But what do you need to adjust in yourself to make this work? What type of development do you need to handle this different structure? What types of trainings do you need? Maybe you haven't had this type of tracking before. Maybe you haven't had this many employees and now you need to develop those skills. What are the things you need to do for you to be the optimal leader that you can be? So those are things to plan in there as well. And then what time does that take from you? What's the commitment you're looking at? And how does that plug in? So you can imagine when you start this in September, and then you're starting to work through the hypotheses of, this is what I want. How do I get there? What baby steps do I need to take to get there over time? And what behaviors need to change and what things need to change for us to achieve it? Then you're starting in, so that's, into October, November, you got to have that first budget up there and you're working through that and you're tweaking the plan. By December, you want to have that rough budget fixed. You want to have a finalized version for the next year. You want to have those goals, that business plan, all fixed and ready so that by January, you're rolling it out to your team, you're ready to use it, and you're starting to monitor so that you're looking. I get to the point, I hate to say this because I'm more anal retentive, hopefully, than most people out there, but a lot of times I'm even looking sometimes daily, weekly, monthly, as well as looking at the quarters, as well as looking at the end of the year. How close are we? What do we need to change? Sometimes we've exceeded our goals and we need to go back and say, what is our super stretch goal? These are the goals we wanted to hit, but this would have been nice to hit if we had more juice. Well, if you've hit your goal already and you're 6 months in, or even maybe you're 9 months in and you have a quarter to go, what else can we do? So it gives you an opportunity to tweak. Maybe something happened in the market that nobody anticipated or in the world, and now it's a setback. How do we have to tweak that way? What are things that we need to adjust our sales on for that? So these are all things you can do, and it's evolving, and it just helps you. You can achieve more than you know when you're monitoring and you have a plan.
Oh my God, Tracie. I don't know about some of the people that may be listening, but my anxiety just got triggered. And my heart is like rapidly beating now because I'm like, oh my God, that was so many questions that you were asking about what we want and what do we need and all these numbers I need to figure out. I know there are going to be people sitting out there listening to me and being like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And if they're anything like me, their anxiety just got triggered and they're having sweats and they're freaking the fuck out and they're like, oh my God, this is so much. But I think the thing to take away from this is that's why you ask these questions, because you may realize that the thing you thought you could accomplish in a year is actually going to take 2 or 3 years, right? So you talked about developing policies and procedures, recruiting, bringing in new people, relinquishing responsibilities. You may find that you're a small firm. It may take a year to build out the onboarding process, the training and development needed for new employees, to develop the policies and procedures, put together an employment handbook, right? How many people actually have an employment handbook? That might just be year 1. Year 2 might be the recruiting piece, and then by year 3 you've met your goal. So part of this is for anyone who's like me, who gets a lot of anxiety and starts freaking the fuck out, this is why you ask these questions, because it's kind of what I mentioned before. We overestimate what we can do in a year. We underestimate what we can do in 10. So if you ask yourself these questions and then really look at all the things that would need to be done in order to accomplish it, you might decide that, year 1, we need to focus on this first, and then we can shift to year 2 being this focus. So your 1-year goal may actually be 2 or 3 years long. And then I think also remembering growth is not always necessarily in revenue, right? Growth can be in increasing your profitability because you've got better and more efficient processes, you've reduced unnecessary expenses. The way we have it come up is in the context of firms that are looking to outsource compliance and legal functions, right? You have an owner or a COO or an advisor's taken on the responsibility of being CCO, and it takes up a quarter to half to most their time, and they're losing out on managing their book of business, doing sales conversations, supporting clients. So it's really also looking at how much time do those people capture, what's the value of that time versus what's the cost. So these are all things, if you get overwhelmed like I do, don't get lost in all the things. Just remember, it doesn't have to all be done in a year. And that's why you ask those questions. That's why you break it down into what are all the things you're doing. Because if you're in a position like I am with young children and you were dumb enough to sign up as room mom like I did, even though I know better, I still fucking did it again this year. You may realize for where I am today in my life, I can't do this in a year, but now I know what I have to do. I can map it out over 2 or 3 years. So that's where this kind of starting now, asking the questions, digging deep, breaking down the pieces, figuring out what all needs to do, break out all the action steps, who's going to be responsible for those action steps. That's where you can really start imagining what can be done in a year, what can be done in the next 5, and where can that lead us.
Yes, I agree with you. I also think, it goes back to that saying, how do you eat the elephant? One bite at a time. But part of it is realizing that if you get a plan down, the chances of success are far greater, and realizing that some of the things you're doing don't have to be that way. For example, we talked about marketing. Maybe your marketing cost is through the roof. And one of the things that you realize as you're doing this planning, as you're looking through your budget, as you're looking at what it is you truly want, that if we were able to get referral business and spend less on marketing and just referrals from the clients we have, referrals from the vendors we have, referrals from people we know that already know us, like us, and trust us, we could reduce our marketing spend. I'm not saying eliminate it completely. You don't want all of your chickens in one hen house. You want to make sure that you're spreading them around, right? But at the same time, maybe in that instance, you find out that, oh my gosh, if we reduce this by 50%, that would already give us something more that would help us meet that financial goal. And it would make the relationship more cemented with the people that we're already serving, and would help us expand our horizons without spending a ton of marketing dollars, increase our customer service and our reputation in the industry. Maybe that's one of the ways you're going to find that you're going to do something, and you realize that by implementing some glide paths and implementing some things with your customer service people, some policies and some things they could do, you could do that now without any additional spend and actually increase the amount of revenue that you have, the profit to spend on other things, increase your client load, and actually have better clients to work with. So I mean, even working through this, it isn't that everything you're going to do you're going to put in the first year. In fact, that's why I tell people, after you do the business plan, after you have it finalized, usually towards mid-December, I start looking at the calendar for the next year to plan out when is all of this going to happen. And then if the calendar looks like it's going to explode, Houston, we probably have a problem. We can't do everything in Q1. We can't do everything in Q2. We need to make sure it's spread out through the whole calendar. And if some stuff couldn't be accomplished this year because it takes the entire year and it takes too much bandwidth this year, but maybe we could kick it off in Q4. Maybe next year is when the actual goal is, but the goal is to kick it off this year. So it's allowing you to tweak and adjust and say, what am I really trying to achieve, and when do I have to get there? What are things I have to have, and what are things that would be nice to have? And it allows you to get in a different position when you realize that your business is there to work for you, not the other way around. You didn't start a business to create a job for yourself. You started a business to create a different life. And so allow yourself to get the life that you want, and don't make it take 20 or 30 years for when you're ready to retire to actually get those results. Start getting them much sooner, and you can actually do it in a way where you're not picking your employees' pockets, you're not picking your clients' pockets, you're doing it in a way you can feel good about. And if you need support on that, of course, you can reach out to us or other people as well, and we do have workshops and things like that that are put on that we're able to help you with some of your planning and some of your structure. We actually do some, for those of you that have read The Power of TED, we do the QVC, we do the 3 questions, the 3 vital questions that help you navigate business and move past those hurdles and those barriers to success that actually get your team to be more effective and more profitable. You can obviously watch us and listen to us on YouTube, our podcast, anywhere you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, or other places. Find us on LinkedIn, find us on YouTube. There are so many videos out there. Our website at www.myralawyer.com, and we'd be happy to help you.
Now listen, there was I hear it's an old Chinese proverb, but when was the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. When's the second best time to plant a tree? Today. So if you've never done this, even if you've been in business for decades, it's okay. It's never too late to start, and it's never too late to implement change in your business if that is what you want. At the end of the day, it's about regaining control over your life and not letting, to Tracie's point, your business rule you, but allowing you and your business to work together to build a business and a life for you that is ultimately what you've dreamed about. So it's okay if you've never done it before. The second best time to start is today. I wish you all well on your business planning journey. If you have more questions about marketing, we have a great podcast on referrals and how to build out a great pre-engagement glide path, that being kind of the interactions between your firm and prospects. so you can increase those conversion rates. So be sure to check out those episodes on the podcast. Thank you so much for listening. This is Leila Shaver and Tracie Bear with Regulate This.